My name is Paul Comfort. I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief Customer Officer at Modaxo, and I'm host of the Transit Unplugged podcast and TV show. It's great to have you all here for this important discussion on the future of autonomous vehicles, connected driving, and their impact on road safety and mobility. As cities worldwide explore how to integrate these technologies, we're seeing transformative changes like the one I just talked about, and how traffic is managed, how safety is prioritized, and how infrastructure adapts. Today, we have an incredible panel of experts who will share firsthand insights from real world projects shaping the future. First, we have my friend Greer Gillis. He is the Chief Infrastructure and Development Officer at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority, where Nat Ford is the CEO, one of our great leaders in the industry of public transportation and really just public transportation in general. He's the past chair of APTA, and Greer's been on our television show, and I've been down to visit her a couple times, and she's doing amazing work there. She's going to take us inside their pioneering AV testing program and what's called the Ultimate Urban Circulator, showcasing how Jacksonville is setting new standards for road safety and traffic management. And I might say autonomy. They've got a test and learn facility that I'm sure she'll talk a little bit about today. Next up after her, we'll have Nicholas Anderson. He is Vice President of Sales at Vitronic, and they'll walk us through a case study on how AVs, autonomous vehicles, and connected driving impact intelligent road infrastructure. He'll discuss how data-driven enforcement and automation can increase safety, especially for what they call VRUs, or vulnerable road users. You might see that acronym a couple times. And then Adrian Wilkinson, who is the Director of Product Management at Elovate, will share his vision on how automated traffic enforcement can evolve alongside these technologies to improve road safety and compliance. And after the questions, we'll open it up for Q&A from the audience. So be sure to drop your questions in the chat whenever you think of it. Pick it up at the end, and Sabine will get to our questions at the end of it, and we'll be able to ask our experts. So stick around to the end, and we also will have a special announcement you won't want to miss. So with that, let's get started. Greer, we'll turn it over to you.
All right, Paul, thank you very much. And good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. Again, my name is Greer Gillis, and I work at the Jacksonville Transportation Authority. And I'm excited to actually share with you today the JTA's plans for transforming mobility as we know it today. And we're doing that in Jacksonville, Florida, Northeast Florida. The way we look at it, everyone, is autonomous mobility and innovations such as autonomous mobility will change the game when it comes to transportation, making things safer, making our roadways safer, making our users safer. At the JTA, we have embraced this paradigm shift when it comes to innovation and transportation, and we've embraced it wholeheartedly. Our mission at the JTA, under the leadership of our CEO, Nat Ford, is to make sure that we provide our community with safe, convenient, seamless mobility options, including automated, connected, electric, and shared mobility. And we're doing that through a network of transportation choices, integrated network of transportation choices tailored to meet our community's needs. And as we embrace these new technologies, and we prepare for the upcoming challenges and opportunities that come with it, I will share with you what those positive impacts are, what we see as those positive impacts, but especially around road safety, which is why we're all here today. Road safety, safety for our transit users, safety also for those vulnerable road users. And we'll start off by talking about our prime significant program. Next slide, please. Allow me to introduce you to the Ultimate Urban Circulator. That's how we are seeing the future of autonomous mobility. For the Ultimate Urban Circulator, or U2C, it's a very highly ambitious program, but it's all planned around safety. There are 3 phases to our program. Phase 1 is the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, a 3-mile loop that will be in our downtown area, expanding from the West Urban Core to our Sports and Entertainment District. This 3-mile loop has been funded by local, state, and federal sources, $65 million in totality, but we will have autonomous vehicles traveling in mixed-use traffic. This will be what we see: frequent service, 10-mile headways, safe service for road users, safe service for our transit users. I'll share more with you about that phase. Phase 2 is what we're terming our downtown service expansion, which is really a modernization of our 2.5-mile Skyway automated people mover system. When we're done, we will have 2.5 miles of above grade elevated service that really becomes an avenue for autonomous vehicles that will ramp down to at grade service. We received over $200 million in funding from the city of Jacksonville through a local option gas tax, which really sets in motion this particular program. And then in phase 3, what you see here, we're terming our neighborhood extensions. So now we're going to ramp out into the neighborhoods on the outer proximity of our downtown urban core into planned historic areas such as Riverside, Brooklyn, Springfield, and even into one of our core medical campuses. And when we're done, 10 miles of autonomous public transit service. And when we launch the first phase this summer, 2025, we will be the first public transportation service in autonomy, level 4 autonomy, and revenue service. So we're pretty excited about all of that. Next slide, please. Let me share with you more about phase 1, the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, and why we feel this is a model for safety. This slide shows a graphic of the map, the west side of the map, that shows a portion of our 3.5-mile corridor, and you'll see our stations. There'll be 12 stations in totality on the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, branded stations between the East Loop, the Center Loop, and the West Loop. But as you can see here in that segment in the orange, that's the actual route where autonomous vehicles would leave the route and actually come to our operations and maintenance facility, which we are calling the Autonomous Innovation Center. That will be the location not only for charging of our autonomous vehicles, but also it will be our command and control center. For the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, we are deploying 14 autonomous vehicles that will operate in mixed flow traffic at 10-minute headways. It will provide the first and last mile solutions for all of our fixed route services in the downtown core. And on the next slide, you'll see what we're proposing for that service to run alongside the sports and entertainment complex. And as you can see from the color diagrams, Jacksonville is on the cusp of a lot of new developments, new parks along the Riverside, new mixed-use developments, a new Four Seasons hotel, and a brand new stadium to support our NFL team, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And our autonomous vehicle service will be right in the mix of all of that. Stations to where users of all of these facilities will be able to get to. One thing notable about the Bay Street Innovation Corridor that really promotes this safety, we will have our own private LGT network, a fiber optic that has been laid by our partners with the Jacksonville Electric Authority to help us to be able to communicate between those vehicles and our command and control center. A robust cybersecurity to protect all the data that we are collecting along Bay Street, which will become a smart corridor in the city of Jacksonville. We are also having transit signal priority, which I'll talk to you about later, and making sure that there's flood sensors. We are in Jacksonville. It is a hurricane area, so we wanted to make sure we had flood sensors, weather sensors, and cameras, not only in the vehicle, but along the route and at each one of our 12 branded stations. Next slide. Here's where our command and control center will actually reside at our Autonomous Innovation Center. This is the place where we are terming the Center of Autonomous Mobility in Northeast Florida. This 20,000 square foot building will house our command and control center, but even more than that, it's a model of innovation. Notice in the center photo at the top on the actual ceiling of our AIC, solar panels, 129 solar panels to be exact, that will generate enough power along with our battery electric storage solution to run a typical residential home for 2 weeks. The way we look at this microgrid is estimated to offset about 100% of this building's normal power demand. So we wanted to make sure, which is really a hallmark of the JTA, that innovation is woven throughout this project, even above the autonomous vehicles. Next slide, please. Here is the vehicle that we are using for the Bay Street Innovation Corridor. You know, at this moment, there isn't a purpose-built vehicle that is readily available for use on this project, or really any project in the United States, that meet many of the federal regulatory compliance issues, such as Buy America, such as FMVSS. So because of that, and given this current market, the JTA went with, we're going to build our own autonomous vehicles. So with the partners that you see on the left of the screen, Ford, Pro, OXA, Braun Ability, and Roush Manufacturing in Detroit, we have built this autonomous vehicle from the ground up using a base for Ford E platform. With this Ford E platform and with our partners at OXA has given us the ADAS system that will allow us to turn this vehicle into a true autonomous vehicle that can operate in level 4 autonomy. We are able to provide this vehicle that will have occupancy for 9 passengers with all the seats folded down, but also we are adding a vehicle lift to make sure that we are accommodating the needs of our disabled community. And when that lift is in use and the wheelchair is in place, then we will have availability for 7 at a seated capacity. This vehicle, as you see here, will meet all of the federal regulatory requirements, which makes this available for us to not only use on our project with federal funds, but really for any transit agency or public entity to be able to use with federal funds. This ADAS system will allow us to operate in level 4 autonomy. And with the testing that we're doing now, especially on the roadways right here in Jacksonville, Florida, we are showing that autonomous mobility is truly possible. Next slide, please. Now, how do we make sure that those vehicles are operating in autonomous mobility? All through our artificial intelligence and AI. Our AI systems continually analyze the traffic patterns and the road conditions to establish that optimal safety parameters before any vehicle deployment, protecting both our passengers and our road users. So we are making sure that we have a redundant system in place on each of our vehicles by the means of LiDAR, cameras, and radars. And those will help us to make sure that we know the pinpoint accuracy of those vehicles as they travel along the route. And that's something that each one of our attendants at the Command and Control Center at the Autonomous Innovation Center will be able to mark. These AVs are able to sense a range of about 120 to 200 meters, depending on the object. And so the way we look at it, that's about 1 to 2 football fields, American football fields, of course. But for drivers, that gives you kind of a distance that you would have 4 to 7 seconds to react if you were traveling at about 60 miles an hour. Here's the importance of all of that. That's where the safety comes in. In many cases, the autonomous innovation, the ADAS system, can respond and react quicker in many cases than the human driver. And that's why we're saying that this is a safe vehicle and a safe operation and operational mode for our public transportation systems. Next slide, please. You know, earlier in my presentation, I mentioned some of the smart infrastructure that we're putting on the smart corridor to ensure that the Bay Street Innovation Corridor vehicles will operate seamlessly in mixed traffic, be a safe addition to our corridor. A part of that is the transit signal priority. We're putting in queue jump infrastructure, normally what you would see on fixed route buses. We're putting those in place as well so that our autonomous vehicles can actually jump ahead of the queue and actually be able to maneuver right back into traffic safely after picking up riders at our stations. We have ITS connected vehicle roadside units at 17 traffic intersections, and we have onboard units on the autonomous vehicle shuttles that will allow us to seamlessly integrate along this corridor that actually converse, if you will, with the traffic signals and again be that line of sight for our command and control center operators with seeing the vehicles. And that will also allow us to look at real-time information of traffic, be able to make decisions for the vehicles as they traverse along the route and collect data on the route, the data on the roadway conditions, data on the parking situation, all those things that help us to navigate along this corridor to keep not only our passengers safe, but all of the road users, bicyclists, and pedestrians safe as well. So as I close out my presentation on this slide and look forward to having a dialogue with you later to answer any questions you may have, we feel at the JTA that the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, the ultimate urban circulator in totality, is a model not just for seamless mobility options, but also providing safe mobility options for all of our road users. With that, Paul, I'll turn it right back over to you. Thank you.
Great. That's wonderful, Greer. So you all are going to be making your own vehicles.
Yes, yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And when do you plan to kick that off?
So we're looking to launch our first phase, the Bay Street Innovation Corridor, this summer, June 30th, 2025. And then from that, we're looking at phases 2 and phases 3 coming online by 2032.
Very exciting. Very exciting, Greer. Thank you for that. And if
Thank
you have
you.
questions for Greer, make sure you drop them into the chat box or the Q&A box below, and we'll ask her those questions. Jacksonville Transportation Authority is really leading the way in the whole nation with this kind of innovation, putting autonomous vehicles into regular public transportation work around the city. Now we're going to continue on with Nicholas Anderson, Vice President of Sales at Vitronic. Nicholas, tell us about what's happening in the world of this case study about intelligent transport and road infrastructure.
Yeah, so sorry, I'll do my best to give you a little bit of a highlight as to, first of all, who Vitronic is, but then also the Potsdam project. But overall, as Paul mentioned, I'm Nicholas, or Nick Anderson, and I run the traffic business unit for Vitronic in North America. So I'll just give you a little bit of a brief highlight as to who we are, and also DLR, which is our partner in the Potsdam project, where we had a demo installed over the last year and a half. So first of all, Vitronic itself, we're a German-based company out of Wiesbaden. We have our local US headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky. And last year, we celebrated 40 years within the company itself and also with the traffic technology. And we do primarily provide roadside units for traffic tolling, but also for traffic safety enforcement, like speed cameras, red light cameras, et cetera, et cetera. As that, we have over 20,000 installations across the globe. So we have systems installed on every single continent of the world. We're about 1,400 employees as well. And together with DLR, who's a German company, they're a research institution primarily within and also, of course, a space agency. But they were our partner for the Potsdam project. And if you don't know where Potsdam is, it's right next to Berlin. So I would even almost, unless a German is on here, I would call it Berlin. But it's officially Potsdam. Next slide, please. So if you look at what Vitronic's vision is, or Vitronic machine vision, because that's in our name what we do and who we are. Our vision is to work together with communities to essentially provide an innovative approach to provide autonomous vehicles as well as other road users like VRUs or vulnerable road users with information about the road and also the conditions and potential events happening in traffic as well. And we believe that this would help support all the sensors inside of the vehicles and also external sensors, because the main goal here is to increase the safety as well as reliability for everyone in traffic itself. And excuse me, from Vetronic's perspective, if you look at the widespread implementation of automated vehicles, does require a very integrative approach where not just the AVs or automated vehicles, but also all other road users have the ability to engage in a continuous exchange of information with each other to make sure that we all can benefit from the safer and more reliable traffic situation. Next slide, please. So urban mobility and what you can do with it and so forth and how you can enhance it. You can, of course, go about by installing very large enforcement infrastructures, which we have done and we are still doing. Look at the financing for those and also enabling some mentioned in my previous slide, the connectivity so that all the different road users, whether they be pedestrians or VRUs, more or less the same thing. And also then how can we optimize the traffic flow? So what Vetronic does is that we empower cities and municipalities to not just plan, but also build the critical road safety infrastructure, and then also provide high quality data services for automated vehicles. For example, like object information, warning notifications, route recommendations, and information forwarding. Sort of like what your GPS is doing today, but for predictive maneuver planning. And one of the issues that we're addressing is how synergies can be created between the sensor infrastructure that we would be part of, and then also the innovative mobility concepts such as autonomous driving. And given the fact that autonomous driving is a very key aspect into realizing Vision Zero, a lot of studies have shown that about 90% of all the traffic accidents today are caused by human error, whether that be speed or distraction or whatever it might be. But also there's what we need to take into account is also numerous reports showing traffic chaos, congestion, and the obstruction of emergency vehicles in connection with some of the autonomous vehicles. So it's something that we're working towards. And is it a perfect technology today? No, but it's getting there. And I think that's what the key takeaway here would be. Next slide, please. So as part of that, what did we do to try to see what we can do to pitch into this Vision Zero project? Well, we partnered together with DLR, who, as I said earlier, is a leading German research institute for traffic technology. And we established essentially a real-world lab at an intersection in Potsdam back in 2021. And the project itself followed the key question: how can automated and connected vehicles be optimally supported by intelligent infrastructure in very complex traffic scenarios? I know it sounds like a lot because it is, but by combining the technological innovation and practical knowledge, what we aimed to do was to gain important insights into the impact that a digital infrastructure working in conjunction with autonomous vehicle technology has on local traffic solutions or situations, sorry. Now, our real-world lab, what we called here the Local Traffic Safety Analyzer, or LTSA, we did set that up, as I said, in 2021 in Potsdam. And the research itself was based on the optical detection of various road users. So we enabled this through our Vetronic Smart Sensor Platform, or SSP, and also allows mobility data from cyclists, motorists, pedestrians in the intersection to be captured in compliance with the data protection regulations, which in Europe with GDPR is pretty stringent. But we also set up kind of like what Jacksonville did, is that we set up roadside units that serve as a communication interface between automated vehicles and connected vehicles to provide that anonymized mobility data of the road users. And this data we see helps the vehicles to plan a safe and reliable driving maneuver in very complex traffic situations. Next, please, or next slide. So what do we deploy here? In the pictures here, you see pictures of our various types of equipment that we have deployed. So we did this both in Potsdam and Hamburg. They're very similar, but we're looking more in Potsdam here. Is that we developed and also then provided specific sensor technologies for different scenarios to cover essentially the main key questions that we had for the project. So we installed several video-based surveillance cameras, as well as we use those for red light as well as scanning LiDAR, which is our sensors for automated speed enforcement. So we did that to detect the traffic, I would say participants, so like vehicles as well as VRUs or vulnerable road users, as well as the roadside unit devices to provide that vehicle to infrastructure communication network, so V2X essentially. And then we developed different scenarios in cooperation with DLR, such as optimized traffic light control, which was based on the traffic volumes as well as the detected vehicles. And also the predictive collision warning to increase the VRU protection, since they essentially have no protection. And VRUs, of course, are pedestrians, cyclists, etc. Next slide. So what challenges did we see as well as the outcome? So the fact that more and more cities are facing the challenge of driving towards this mobility transition with keeping the roads safer as well as sustainable are key factors. And the rapid development of automated as well as connected driving provides a lot of opportunities for the cities to make the traffic more efficient, but also safer by also eliminating some of the various risks. And as I said earlier, the automated vehicles in general provide a safer road for vulnerable road users in urban areas, especially since about 90%, I think 87 to be exact, of all accidents are caused by some sort of human error. But it shouldn't be overlooked that what we found is that it shouldn't be overlooked that despite the major technical advances in the automated driving space, the technology itself still faces a lot of challenges. And I'm sure we've all seen this on certain YouTube videos, etc., with the automated automated taxi cars and so forth. But the safety overall for the pedestrians as well as cyclists, especially in these critical areas such as complex intersections, is something that has to be ensured. And automated vehicles is a very good way to get to that point. But to ensure that the future traffic is mixed consisting of both automated as well as non-automated road users, we need to make sure that it's as safe, sustainable, and intelligent as it possibly can be. And in order to better understand the dynamics at this specific intersection that we did in Potsdam/Berlin, the Vetronic systems were trained to recognize and differentiate between various different kinds of dangerous situations. And within the scenarios that were presented, we used analytical methods to identify potential collisions between road users at a very early stage, and then send those risk alerts to the vehicles via the communication channels. And the Smart Sensor Platform, or SSP, it uses an image-based object recognition to detect road users as well as their movement patterns in this intersection. And then it provides very detailed information about the position, the moving direction, as well as the speed of various individual road users. And that collected data is then used to analyze the potential threat on the one hand, and also to generate risk alerts on the other. But both the raw data, meaning the mobility data for each object, and the collision warnings are output in a standardized message format that's understandable for the automated as well as connected vehicles. And, and essentially, standardization of this is really paramount, as it enables consistent communication as well as interpretation of that data, regardless of whatever vehicle type or manufacturer you might be driving. And these standardized messages are then sent to the onboard units of the automated as well as connected vehicles in real time via a communications network. And in this case, we built the ITS G5 using our roadside units. So this way, the vehicles can acquire a very accurate picture of their surroundings and then react accordingly in potentially very dangerous situations. And the system itself offers augmented reality as well, as it also recognizes hidden road users or potential obstacles that the vehicle sensors can't detect at a first glance, given the fact that the cameras are placed on a higher level. And also, in addition to increased road safety for the users, this contributes to a more efficient traffic flow. And the data can also be used for optimization of the traffic light controllers. So the results of this real world lab underline that the use of the advanced technologies such as the Vetronic Smart Sensor Platform in combination with intelligent algorithms is a very effective way to promote safe and sustainable mobility specifically in urban areas. And in particular, the analysis of dangerous scenarios show that the system significantly reduces the risk of collisions, especially in turning scenarios where the vehicle turning both left and right, but it poses a major risk of accidents between cars and cyclists. And if you look at vehicles turning right on red in this country, it flows traffic very well, but sadly, it also provides a lot of risk to the people crossing the crosswalk at that point in time. And that's where we see a lot of accidents that can be prevented. But the overall approach offers very valuable application possibilities. For example, excuse me, with the implementation of autonomous shuttle services like Jacksonville is doing, or autonomous streetcars in local public transport to ensure additional safety at these critical junctions. And then as an end to everything, the system itself can be flexibly integrated into either new or existing infrastructures, as well as adapted and expanded for other applications as well, such as, for example, traffic control in low emission zones, etc. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention, and I will hand it over to Paul again.
Hey, Nicholas, thanks. That's great. You know, one of the other things that I just saw seeing this last slide you got on here when I was in Vegas this week, I took a cab and the cab driver told me that they now are no longer allowed to just pull over on the side of the road and pick people up because so many people were getting hit in Las Vegas on the streets, you know, so that they only pick you up like in front of hotels and specific zones now. So this kind of vision zero, you know, complete streets and trying to make sure that people aren't injured or killed at these crosswalks is critical, man. The work you all are doing is critical. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is Adrian Wilkinson, Director of Project Management at Elovate, and Adrian's going to share his vision on how automated traffic enforcement can evolve alongside these technologies we just saw to improve road safety and compliance. Adrian, the floor is yours, my friend.
Great. Thanks a lot, Paul. So just a couple of initial thoughts to start off with. You know, we have been in this seems like perpetual cycle of in the next 5 years, we'll have fully autonomous vehicles. It's absolutely technology is advancing. The vehicles are getting better, but I think we're going to be 5 years and another 5 years. I don't know what the date's going to be, but it's not going to be 5 years. I just have it in my bones. I can't, I maybe won't put money on it, but that's kind of where my thought is. The other thing is we're going to be undergoing this transitionary period where we have, you know, autonomous vehicles on the road, and at the same time, there's going to be people still driving manually like we're doing today for the most part. And then, you know, kind of that big thing that I always kind of question is how comfortable are we going to be in relinquishing control of a car and just being able to sit back and not touch anything, and at some point have no steering wheel in our own personal vehicles. That will be a bit of a mind shift that I think everybody will need to deal with at some point in time. If I could have the next slide, please. So one of the biggest concerns about ensuring public safety is automated vehicles, as automated vehicles get introduced. Safety isn't just a technical requirement, it's the foundation of public trust and acceptance. If people don't feel safe sharing the road with autonomous vehicles, adoption will be slow and skepticism could hinder progress. Another challenge is the complexity of mixed traffic environments, where automated and traditional vehicles must coexist. These interactions introduce unpredictable variables requiring advanced decision-making systems that seamlessly integrate with human drivers on the road. Successfully managing this transition will be key to a smooth and efficient integration. Beyond the technical aspects, public perception plays a massive role. Even if the technology is ready, and if people don't trust it, they won't use it. Addressing concerns, educating the public, and demonstrating reliability will be essential for widespread acceptance and regulatory momentum. So just as what Greer talked to us about earlier on, this is a great opportunity, trial, get people to accept the technology, see what it's all about, ask questions, and go for a ride. And finally, policymakers play a crucial role in shaping this transition. Regulations must strike a balance between fostering innovation and ensuring public well-being. Thoughtful policies can create an environment where automated vehicles can be deployed safely and effectively. Next slide, please. As we look ahead, the successful integration of advanced technology with enforcement policies will be a key factor in ensuring safer and more efficient roadways. One of the most powerful tools at our disposal will be data analytics. Just as you saw with Nick and the technology that Victronics have, that will all be sort of fed back into a central system for analysis. By leveraging real-time data, we can develop informed enforcement strategies, identify high-risk areas, and proactively address potential traffic safety concerns. This data-driven approach not only helps law enforcement, but also improves overall traffic management by ensuring that resources are used efficiently and effectively. When technology and enforcement work together, we can create a system that enhances safety while improving the driving experience for everyone. Smart monitoring tools, AI driving pattern analysis, and automated enforcement mechanisms all contribute to better decision-making and more effective traffic policies. Ultimately, the goal is to use technology just not for enforcement, but to understand influence driver behavior, reducing risk before they lead to accidents. By continuously analyzing trends and adapting policies accordingly, we can create a safer, smarter transportation system. Next slide, please. Automated traffic enforcement systems will play a crucial role in ensuring that automated vehicles adhere to traffic laws as they become more prevalent. Just as they apply to human drivers, they don't get a pass. For autonomous vehicles to be safely integrated into our transportation systems, they must comply with existing traffic regulations and adapt to changes just as human drivers are expected to. However, this is just not a one-time solution. Continuous updates to technology will be essential to maintain safety, efficiency, and compliance on the roads. At the same time, regulations must evolve alongside the technology. Policymakers and industry leaders must work together to ensure that laws keep pace with advancements, addressing challenges such as liability, enforcement, and road safety. With the right balance of innovation and oversight, we can ensure that automated vehicles contribute positively to road safety rather than introducing new risks. Next slide. One thing is clear, the integration of technology with traffic enforcement has the potential to create significant improvements in road safety and compliance. However, technology alone is not enough. Aligning enforcement strategies with safety initiatives like Vision Zero can be a game changer in reducing traffic fatalities and injuries. Vision Zero's goal of eliminating roadway deaths requires not just better enforcement, but also a shift in how we think about road safety, placing human life and well-being at the center of transportation planning. But achieving these improvements requires more than just policy and technology. It demands collaborative effort, creating a safer road environment for everyone, involving bringing together technology partners, developers, policymakers, law enforcement, and the community to ensure that safety measures are effective, fair, and widely supported. I think there's maybe a slight, there's one extra slide in here that should be, but anyways, by working together, we can build a transportation system that is safer, smarter, and more efficient for everyone. And that's it for me. I want to thank everybody, and I'll turn it back over to Paul. I think we just need to advance another couple of slides just to get to the Q&A. Yeah,
There we go.
Perfect,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, my friend. That's great. Good stuff. So now is the time we're going to move into our Q&A. We do have a couple questions, but we have time for a few more. So if you have a question for one of our panelists, feel free to drop it in. And I'm going to ask all the panelists to give me a smile on camera. I'm going to snap a quick picture while we're all on right now. All right. Let's see. We got it. Great. So I'll turn it over to my friend Sabine, who is going to be reading the questions today for the folks who are our panelists. Sabine?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we had a couple of questions. The first question was from Travis for Greer. What advantage does an autonomous vehicle on a fixed route provide over a traditional bus with a dedicated bus lane?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you for that question. You know, one of the reasons why we love looking at autonomous vehicles for Jacksonville, especially in the downtown core, is being able to have the flexibility to adjust the routes as needed. For example, this route for the Bay Street Innovation Corridor is reversing from the west side of downtown through the urban core all the way to the sports and entertainment district. So game days, big events, if we need to adjust any of the stops, we have that flexibility to do that with the autonomous shuttles. Even if for whatever reason, our sheriff's department or stadium officials want to move people so that they may disperse somewhere else other than what was planned, we have that flexibility. With our fixed route service, which works really well, but they stay on that same dedicated route. They may only divert for a detour, but they have to stay on that same route and that same time points. Looking for that flexibility, especially as we try to provide various options for everyone here. That's why we have leaned towards autonomous mobility here in Jacksonville. Great question, though. Thank you.
Great. We have another question from Alan, I believe, for Greer. Were you able to fund this primarily using Fed grant dollars, or did you find local sources of funding?
So it's a variety of all. For the Bay Street project is funded through local sources. Federal funding, we received the BUILD grant in 2019 and also state grants as well. So all three help to contribute to this.
Great. And then I have a question from Travis for Nick. Will Bitronic signal data be used to train AI models for 2UC? Is he understanding this correctly?
It's a great question. We do use AI in a lot of our modeling, specifically behind, for example, ALPR reads and recognizing vehicles and object detection and so forth. So it's a constant training of all of our equipment using AI. So in general, the answer would be yes. We would use AI in order to be able to accomplish that as well.
Yeah, I think what the person was asking was, are you going to be providing training for what Greer is working on? And I don't know if that's happening or not. They said something about, are you going to use it for the UTC? But you're going to be using some type of AI, right, Greer, to train?
Yes, we are. We're using that AI to be able to train and also to train the systems in our vehicle, the ADAS systems in our vehicle. So all the data, not just the traffic signal, but all the data, we want to be able to use that to train so that it gets better over time.
That's good. While you got the floor, Greer, could you also talk just a little bit about the test and learn facility you all operated there?
Sure. In 2020, we actually converted one of our park and ride locations to a test and learn facility. It's at our Armsdale Test and Learn facility just on the north side of Jacksonville. And what my team has been able to do, the automation and innovation team here at the JTA, they've tested 8 different platforms of autonomous vehicles, from some of the early first generation models to some of the ones we're seeing today. We created our own test track. We also, where we have traffic controllers there, traffic signals, we have shelters there, and we even created a rain simulator. How does the autonomous vehicle work in heavy rain? That's something we face here in Jacksonville. So the team, as early as 2020, wanted to test all of that. That was helpful for us to develop a list of criteria, which we call the Golden 20. Those were the top criteria that needed to be in any autonomous vehicle shuttle that we were going to use for the ultimate urban circulator. So it was ensured that those vehicles I shared with you earlier, those vehicles have that golden 20 in within those vehicles. But even also for any autonomous vehicle for the future, especially as we have been working with one European manufacturer to relocate to Jacksonville and actually begin building their own purposely built autonomous vehicle shuttles. So Holon will be doing that for us, and we've given them that golden 20, and those first shuttles that they will manufacture and release in 2027, 2028, we'll have our golden 20 in place. So that's why that test and learn facility was so important for us.
Yes, I was able to visit it a few years ago, and if you're interested in seeing how they did it, it's on one of our previous episodes, the Jacksonville episode of Transit Unplugged TV on YouTube. I also was able to see the Holon vehicle at the APTA Expo, I guess, or APTA Transform Conference this last year in Anaheim, and we filmed Nat Ford talking about this in front of the vehicle, and we actually took a tour of the vehicle. So if you'd like to see that visual and see what they brought a test vehicle over, you can see it right on the Transit Unplugged TV episode from Los Angeles. Nicholas, do you have anything else you'd like to add in wrapping things up today, since that's all the questions we got?
No, just really just thankful to be here, and I really enjoyed the webinar today, and hopefully we'll get some interesting feedback after this.
That's great. And how about you, Adrian?
Oh, this has been a great session. In sort of coming into this event, there was a book I read a couple of years ago. It's called AI 2041, 10 Visions for the Future. And they had one chapter dedicated to basically AI, or autonomous driving, and kind of how the growth of that needs to be just a combination of kind of everything, kind of like that smart city sensors available over the place. It's just not inside the vehicle. It's with Vitronic. It's trying to get all of that working together to create safer roads at the end of the day.
That's wonderful. Greer, any closing thoughts?
First of all, thank you, Paul, for bringing us all together. Definitely an enjoyable dialogue, and I hope we were able to leave everyone with the idea of what that future is now, and we're all have a part of it, but everyone needs to come along for this journey, because it's bigger than just safety. It's really helping us to advance what we're trying to accomplish across all of our communities.
That's great. Well, thank you all. That wraps up our discussion, but don't leave yet. We've got a couple more things to let you know. We want to thank all of our panelists, and you can see right on the screen at the bottom their website addresses. So if you have information you'd like to get more at elovate.com or jtafla.com or vitronic.com, those are the websites. You can grab more information there. As mentioned earlier, if you are passionate and interested in public transportation and mobility in general, you can catch me on Transit Unplugged. It's a weekly podcast. Today we have a brand new episode. Every Wednesday it drops. Today is Tom Drotes, who's CEO of Ben Franklin Transit in the state of Washington. He's our guest today. It's normally a CEO or a top executive. And we're in our third season of Transit Unplugged TV, which is a travel show that highlights the public transportation in a city, as well as the food, fun, and culture there. And so that's on YouTube. Are interested, and even if you're not, we're going to send you an email over the next few days, which will give a recording of today's seminar and a webinar along with key takeaways, which is good because you may not have been taking notes and you'll be like, oh, what did Adrian say? We'll have the key notes on that. So that'll be good for you. It'll be coming to you. Thanks for being here and for joining us here on this webinar. It's a joy to be with you today with some great leaders in our industry. We look forward to seeing you at our next webinar, everyone. Have a great rest of your week. Take care. Nicholas, Greer, Adrian, thank you again.